We're Mark Val Wines. We started I've been making wine as of February 9 years. And how I got into this whole thing was my wife and I liked going to wine tastings. We kept going to the different vineyards and different tasting events. And I just kept having a feeling I could do it. I could do this. I could make this. I just had a feeling. So I started. I went to a wine supply store, picked up a kit, threw it in the car. My wife said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to make wine." And she said, "Where?" I said, "We're going to make a wine at home." So took the wine kit home and began. And our first batch was Pinot Grigio. And it was good. We were really proud of that too. I said, but then I get the bug. And I'm the kind of person, when I get something going like that, I keep going. So it's like, oh, that was good. Let's make another one. So we made another one. Then it's like, oh, that was good too. Let's make another one. So we just kept going. And before you know it, we had a house full of wine. And then my lovely wife said, "You got to do something with this wine. I can't get to the washing machine downstairs. We got wine piled up in the hall." She said, "You got to do something." I was like, all right. So I called the state, the PLCB, our favorite friends, right? And I said, "Hey, look, I got a house full of wine. I got to get rid of this wine. How can I do it and not go to jail?" And they said, "Well, apply for what they call in Pennsylvania a limited winery license." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I did. Got the paperwork, put it together, and believe it or not, y'all, it was COVID. So the lady came, I never forget, she was all masked up, yeah, everything, because our first license spot was our basement in our home. So they had to come and take all the pictures, inspect your house, go in there. I had to have locks on this and locks on that. That's fine, I didn't care about none of that. But we had everything ready to go. And then she looked at me and said, "Congratulations, you're my first Black-owned winery." And I went, "What? You kidding? Pennsylvania's got what? How many millions of people we got?" I said, "Really? We got Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg." She said, "Sorry, no, you're it." I said, "Oh, okay." It still didn't hit me because what's it mean? You know what I mean? I didn't really embrace that part right away. I just wanted to get good wine out. So our opening day, and I guess the word got out, we had over 350 people. And it was a lot of fun. We had a ball. It was a lot of fun. And we sold a lot of wine. So we started increasing production, making more and trying to figure out how we was going to get this done, how we're going to do the label. It's a lot of work comes into a winery. It isn't just making wine, put it in a bottle, you sell it. There's a lot of laws and things, TTB registration and all that stuff. We had to do all of that. And it was fine, though, because it was a journey along the lines of learning what it takes and what you have to do. So we got it done. We got it done, and here we are now going on our fourth year. Yeah, it's around there. Anyway, we just been busy. Our production has picked up tremendously. We are growing 20% per year. So the business is doing very well. We just paid a bunch of taxes to prove it. So we are definitely growing, but we're happy with the response we get. Now, one of the things you notice on our bottles, on the sweet wines, we put an image. The images are usually women. And they're women in our community that have done good things, or we feel are prominent, or they're cousins, relatives. I never run out. So far, we've had 135 different women on our labels, and it's been fun. I love their reaction. I love how it sells. And when we first did it, I didn't think much about it, except it was pretty, nice, pretty bottles. And a lady that runs our York Foundation told me, she said, "You have no idea how special that makes someone feel." And I said, "You know what? You're right. I didn't. I just did it and was having fun with it." So now we're a little bit more careful about who we choose and talk to them about it, make sure they understand. That's why with every bottle, there's a story. I can tell you what that person does, what they've done in our community, what they're working towards, what their family's like. We want a story behind every face you see. So that was important to us. So we really enjoy doing that. And we're going to continue to do that. A couple of times we were thinking about getting rid of that, because when you're in this kind of business, you will wrestle with labels over and over. And I'm still wrestling with labels. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. If y'all know a label printer, I need him. All right, I need a label printer. But other than that, we've been having a good time. My kids all enjoy it. We do a lot of festivals. We get called for a lot of festivals. Being an African-American owned winery, we get quite a few because they want us there. And we pull a crowd. We pull a good crowd. So our wine's good. We're one of the only wineries that makes hemp. And try it, please, before you get a chance. I want you to try it. It's our number one selling wine. Number one. And number two in the sweet wines is our blood orange sangria. And we had to fool around with 4 or 5 different orange juices till we got that the way we wanted to. But it's really good. Now we use a Saval blood orange. Really makes it good. And in our dries, Diablo Rojo. You ever heard of Diablo Rojo? You heard of it? Yeah? Where'd you hear from? Where about? From here. Oh. Yeah? Oh, I'm glad you're here. Diablo Rojo is actually 2 different red blends mixed together. There's 2 ways to make it. This one here today night, if you want to get a taste of it, is made with my Grenache and Merlot. And then we have one with Syrah and Merlot. But this one is Grenache and Merlot. They balance each other out well. It's a very nice red tasting wine, and we sell quite a bit of it. It's really good to eat with, doesn't have an overpowering taste on your palate, doesn't knock out whatever you're eating. If you're eating a steak, you still taste the steak. You know what I mean? That was important to us. So we've learned a lot from area wineries. I don't know if you're familiar. There's over 18,000 wineries in the United States. 70% of them come out of California. Out of that 18,000, less than 70 of them are people of color. We make up less than 1% of the whole wine industry, but we buy 12% of the wine. So it's a difference, it's an imbalance. And when we go to places that are predominantly people of color, we are very popular. They're very happy to see us. So we get there and it makes us feel good too. But that also puts the pressure on me to give them the best product I can make. I don't want them just buy it because I'm Black. I want them to buy it because it's a good wine. And we have a good following in both sets. I'm an old diversity trainer. I had a diversity training company for 20 something years. Diversity and conflict resolution was my thing, and it used to wear the hell out of me. So I couldn't wait to get home and make a bucket of wine. After talking about race and culture and hate and who don't like each other and all that for how many hours, it was nice to sit in the bucket and just stare. Just stare. And it relieved me. It really did. It gave me another perspective. I am the current chair for the Human Relations Commission in New York, and I'm also the co-chair for the CRC, so I can't get away from this. It's still there. But at the same time, I think we're at the end of those groups. I've been there for 12, 14 years. It's time for me to pay attention to me. I ain't getting no younger, and our business is growing, and I'm having fun, and I want to continue that. I'm a 30-year retiree from Harley Davidson. So I worked a lot. But now it's time. I don't even like thinking about it. Anyway, but now we work hard. I get up early now all the time. I'm in my shop all day. My wife comes over, she helps bottle, she labels bottles, she does inventory, she gets the cart ready. I'm constantly making wine. We were bottling today, and I forgot what we bottled. I know the second bottle was Tequila Sunrise. We make a nice Tequila Sunrise. You gotta try it, it's really good. But my first, I forgot what I did. Well, anyway, it's in the bottles now. But it's just been a labor of love. It's a hobby that turned business that's increasing. And we're really enjoying it. So I hope I see you at a festival sometimes. You know, get a chance. We're quite a few of them. We get calls to go to a lot. We actually got picked this year to go to Longwood Gardens. And that was an honor. That was really something we're really proud of. Like, wow, we'll be in DC next week. Yeah, next week we'll be in DC. And so a lot of them hit like that. You know, and if you ever been to a festival, we do the Jazz Festival in Harrisburg. It's 4,800 people for the whole weekend. We do Proudly PA. That'll be 2,800 people for that day. We're going to be out at Bob Huffman Stadium. These are areas in York and Lancaster, Harrisburg. Lancaster, I like. Columbia loves us. Columbia loves us. I mean, we're over there every month. I got a meeting tomorrow over there. So I know a lot of times when I ask them where do people in Columbia go, they say Lancaster. Ain't nothing to do in COVID. Say, no, not really. So when we go over there for Fourth Friday, we clocked to us 135 people in 2.5 hours. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We have a good time. We give free samples all the time. My theory is if I get you to taste it, I'll get you to buy it. And we love feedback. You know, one thing I did learn, 90% of the people in Pennsylvania are sweet wine drinkers. They don't want anything dry. They don't want any, very few. But the majority of people are sweet wine drinkers. They even walk up to my stand and say, sweet. And I go, sweet what? Sweet. Okay, I got 23 of them. Oh, wait a minute. And then they start to go through it. We can make a lot of varietals because we're small. Our tanks are 30-gallon tanks, 100-liter tanks, so I can mix it up. I can make 100-liter of one. That's about 100 some odd bottles. We get that empty, now we're ready to push in something else. So it depends on the juice, how I get my juice in. We're an urban winery, by the way. That means we source juice in and make it into wine. And one of the things we found out in York, there's 5 different vineyards all around York County that are out of business. But you don't cut those vines down. It takes 3 years for a vine to start producing grapes. So just because you went out of business, you don't want to cut those vines down. They just sell the juice. They sell the juice to guys like me and bigger wineries. And we come and buy it, bring it back, and make it into wine. That's our big secret. So when they ask me about, where's your vineyard? I say, all over. Pick one. They're all mine. I can go to any of them and get juice anytime. We also ship juice in. I like Chilean juice. I like Argentinian juice. I like getting wine shipped in from New York. I like that juice they have up in Walker's, up in New State, New York. That wine juice is pretty good. That's a lot of stuff, but I don't want to bore you guys with all those details, but there's a lot you can do. Fruit juice wise, fruit juice is a major, lot of work. A lot of cleaning the juice, making sure the acidity, your pH levels, making sure things are right. Fermentation process, how you want to get it fermented. Do you want to add yeast to it? Do you want to do malolactic? Do you want to use natural? I have to make those decisions every day when I'm putting juice into the tank. How do I want this to come out? Because whatever you do in the beginning will show in the end. So what we do in the beginning, we're very meticulous. But in the end, we want that baby to taste good. So I want you to taste my wine today. All right, even if you just put a little bit in cups, all right. But I want you to taste it because we do put a lot of care in it.
The 90% Pennsylvania wine drinking being preferring sweet wine. So 2 parts. One, how do you know that? Like, is that
you got to pay attention to what you're selling. Pay attention to your numbers because that for an urban winery, that's telling me what I'm putting in the tank next or what I got to buy more of.
So yeah, so knowing your market and knowing who's going to be drinking your wine, whether if you're in the state of Pennsylvania, do you in the winemaking process, do you back sweeten that based on the juice that you get, or do you?
Yeah,
okay,
you don't have a choice.
It's not necessarily the juice that you're buying.
Not all the time. Depends on which juice you're getting for what. Merlot in Pennsylvania is a very sweet wine. Why? I don't know why Merlot is sweet. But a lot of Pennsylvania grapes are sweet, by the way. I really don't know why, but that's just the way it is. Merlot is sweet. Pinot Noir. I have a nice Pinot Noir. I got the grapes out of a Spring Grove area in York. It's great, but don't back sweeten that at all. Don't touch it. I use 5 different back sweeteners too, depending on how I'm feeling and what I'm tasting. That's cool. Because you're in charge. It's your business. It's your wine. So the flavor that you put to is the one they're going to be pointing at because you're the one doing it. So you have to, I experimented with a lot of different sweeteners. Some I had to throw out, tasting and went, yeah, that didn't work. But you always have these, when I learned when I was in the business, when I first started, they told me get 8 testers. What that is, you get 8 1-gallon jars. And you start to play with those 8 1-gallon jars. So you start learning what brick you want it to, how far you want it to go. You know what I mean? Watch your starting and see where you're ending. You don't want to end up where you started. That's just syrup. You ever taste wine that's too sweet? A lot of those guys have automatic machines that pump that corn syrup or sugar in there too much. Make it very, very sweet. So you have to figure that out though. But if you're a small batch like me, I can gauge that and figure out right where I want it.
So the first part is that expansion, is growing your capacity, getting there. And what's hindering you in getting there? I mean, is it you have to move to a new location? It's always funding's a part of it, but
yeah, location's not so much as the wine. juice. Wine takes its time. You know, you ain't gonna make wine overnight. It ain't Kool-Aid. You ain't gonna pour that baby in a bottle of water and you're gonna be there sitting there 3-4 months. You know, so you're fermenting, you're watching, you're getting ready. And then every spring and fall, here come the juice boys. That's what we're dealing with right now. They're all calling me now, you know, Mark, I got this. I'm like, oh man. So I have to figure that out timing wise for the fall guys. Cause in York, fall is our juice time. So right now I got the outside guys wanting to get me into juice. And so you don't want to overload on juice either. And you're sitting on containers and you're not getting anything done. Wine takes time. We age our reds and our dries about 6 to 8 months. Now the sweets, 3 months tops, 4 months, they're out of there. But the dries, it's got to sit a while. So that slows you down. That pushes you back. And you have to it's hard to figure out because I can plan, say I plan July. July, this Diablo is going to be out of here. We're ready to go. And I open the tank and it says, What do? You know what I mean? You put the top back on, you wait. Ain't nothing else you can do. Have to watch how much air you're letting in. Don't let the wine get oxygenated. You know what I mean? You have to there's a lot of care goes along those ways. So you don't want to get to the point where you think you checked it one day and it's going to be okay the next day. It ain't going to happen. We might check it one day and we don't check it again for another 2 weeks. You have to let it set. And there's settlement. You got to let it go. How many of you got some pretty wine decanters? You guys got pretty wine decanters? Yeah, use them babies. What are they for? Red wine, because it always has a constant fallout. You need those. Well, same way it falls out in that little bottle, you ought to see it in the tank. That's a whole lot of cleaning. Yeah, get them babies cleaned out, get the tank cleaned out, go to the next thing. Work. Work. But that's my biggest, I can't speed up the process. You can't. I could. It'll taste like crap. But if you want it to taste well, and you want to keep your brand going and keep the reputation going, don't screw up your process. Keep your process going. So that's what we chose to do. So we're short, but it's good.
I notice that you make a lot of medium body wines, not too heavy. You when you said the Diablo Rojo was dry, I thought that was interesting. I was gonna say definitely semi. So I wanted to know your process. I know that 90% of the wine drinkers drink pretty sweet wines. So would you ever be interested in giving us a true, the driest you got? Would you ever be interested, or do you have something like that?
I didn't bring up today. What I bought was the 4 that were in the video, but I have a nice Syrah that's very, very dry. It's pour like about a 3 brick.
I lied that I didn't have one. I told somebody I had all the wines, but I haven't had the Syrah.
Really, I like making red dry because you know why? You don't do nothing. You just let it sit there. That's the easiest thing. You don't bother it. You don't let nobody kick it. Don't touch it. You just let it sit there. And then when you test it, believe me, them babies drop and it gets to a certain level, it's like you need a glass of water. So when it gets down to there, I'm like, okay, that's that one. And then we're constantly measuring. So, you saw me with that refractor in my eyes. That's an old video because I've got modern now. I got one that I just drop the drops on and it automatically reads it for me, which is a lot better system. It's more accurate. And I can tell when my wines are getting there. We do taste. We have to taste. That's part of the fun. I get more volunteer tasters than anybody. They come down the market all the time. When you bottle, let me know because I'm coming over. Yeah, okay.